All right, let's talk about a topic that can make even the most dedicated volunteer board member break into a cold sweat: budgeting. Specifically for your small HOA or condo community. We're going to dive into how to turn this dreaded task into, believe it or not, a powerful tool for your community.
Sound familiar? I bet it does. If you've ever found yourself in a late-night board meeting, just staring at a spreadsheet and feeling the entire weight of your community's financial future on your shoulders, yeah, you are definitely not alone. That feeling of dread is incredibly common. But here's the good news: it absolutely doesn't have to be that way. There is a much better way to do this. With the right kind of framework, budgeting can go from being this huge source of stress to a strategic process that actually makes your community stronger and gives you real confidence.
So, to find that better way, we first have to really get to the bottom of the problem. Why is this process so uniquely difficult in smaller communities? It turns out it's not really just about the numbers.
It really boils down to the human element, you know? In a small community, you're not some faceless corporation. You're making decisions that directly hit your neighbors' wallets, the same people you see every day. And with budgets being so tight, there's just very little room for error. Every single choice, every fee increase is felt really deeply. And that personal pressure, that's what makes this so challenging.
And all that pressure, well, it often leads boards straight into a few really common traps. Just recognizing what these pitfalls are is the first huge step toward avoiding them. So let's look at the 4 biggest mistakes that can completely derail a community's financial health.
We see these 4 all the time. First up, underestimating what things actually cost in the real world, from insurance hikes to landscaping fees. Then there's that huge temptation to keep dues artificially low just so you don't upset your neighbors, a move that I promise you almost always backfires. A really big one is ignoring or underfunding the reserve fund, the savings account for major repairs. And finally, the simplest but maybe most dangerous trap of all, just copying and pasting last year's budget, which totally ignores how your community is changing.
Okay, so we've looked at the problems, we've seen the traps. Now let's talk about the solution. This is where we make the big shift from being reactive and putting out fires to being proactive and strategic.
So this smarter approach, this framework, it starts with reality, basing your numbers on actual costs, not just wishful thinking. It means you have to look beyond just the next 12 months to protect your community's long-term health. And that means you have to prioritize maintenance and fully fund your reserves. A smart budget also builds in a little buffer, a contingency fund for those unexpected costs. And finally, and this might just be the most important piece of the puzzle, you have to communicate the why behind every single decision.
And this is the real power of that last step. Because when homeowners actually understand what their money is being used for and they see how it protects their own property values, they are so much more likely to be supportive. Explaining the logic behind a dues increase isn't just, good practice. It's how you build trust and get everyone on the same page. So as we start to wrap this up, I want us to reframe how we think about the budget. Seriously, it's not just a boring financial document. It is one of the most powerful leadership tools your board has, period.
And this really gets to the core of everything. The anxiety, the arguments, the stress, it isn't really caused by the math on the page, it's caused by uncertainty. When you have a clear, structured, and transparent process, you eliminate that uncertainty, and you replace it with confidence for both the board and for all the residents.
This right here is the transformation we're talking about. You move from a process that feels reactive, uncertain, and honestly, often contentious, to one that is proactive, clear, and lets your board lead with real confidence. You're not just putting out fires anymore, you're building a stable financial foundation for the future.
So I'm going to leave you with this one question to take to your next board meeting. Is your budget just about managing money day to day, or is it about actually building your community's future? Because a really well-crafted budget does way more than just balance the books. It actively builds a stronger, more resilient community for everyone who lives there.